This is going to be your guide to using Archaludon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I want to talk about Electro Shot first, because we have an interesting move that's kind of the core of this Pokemon, which is how a lot of modern Pokemon signature moves work. So, it's a charge move, raises special attack, turn 1, and then hits turn 2, but that also means you can use a Power Herb to get that power instantly, and then I forgot, Meteor Beam was a thing and then never got used and was the same thing but weaker. Ah yes, 90% accuracy. You put in all of this investment for 120 power move, which is just a close combat, and then it can also miss. But Meteor Beam never really took off. There was some theory craft about it, and maybe we see Minior use it, but now we have Electro Shot. So how does Archaludon use that? I don't know, 85 speed. So if like you're faster than the opponent, that's great. If you're not, you're taking the hit, and then you have 65 special defense, which is Duraludon's problem, and 90 hit points, so you're very susceptible to just getting KO'd by a special attack. 130 defense, though, and then 105 attack. So wait a second. Other Pokemon in the generation are just so perfectly optimized, like Gouging Fire, where there's no wasted stats. But then Archaludon has wasted attack. You're never touching this, you're never using it. The Pokemon is a special attacker. And then 125 on the special attack, which is good. But this just looks like your average pseudo-legendary Pokemon, and you wouldn't believe that this is actually 600 BST. And now that Archaludon exists, we can also talk about Eviolite Duraludon, where yeah, like 70, 50. Wow, this thing was only viable because of my moveset and because of Dynamax, but then it turned into the best Pokemon ever. So that's one of the weird things about it. We don't gain any speed, and then, yeah, just kind of like small stat bumps and wasted stats and then more physical durability. But with Eviolite on Duraludon, we can feel pretty tanky. Max out the hit points, max out the special defense, put the rest into defense, and then you're just kind of free to meme however you want. You Thunder Wave the opponent, now you're faster, you Iron Defense, so you're taking half physical damage, and then you rest. And Eviolite 7115? You don't need Chesto Resto, you wake up and you're still at half health, especially with like Iron Defense and stuff, they have Body Press damage. Also, you're faster than the opponent now, and if you're sleeping and they get fully paralyzed, that's just like the greatest thing ever. So maybe Duraludon is finally a Pokemon that can reliably status opponents. I tried to find that earlier in the generation with my best in status Bis theory. That didn't really go anywhere because there's just too much power creep in the game. But maybe Duraludon can accomplish that. Also, it's really lazy to just say rest sleep talk on everything, but the power creep has also made it to where that's kind of the only viable way to play a few things. Like the rest sleep talk Dondozo that completely crushed me early on in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is still just giving me like, yep, just do that on everything because it's that busted. And this is an old school strat because if the opponent's slower and you sleep talk call Dragon Tail, they just lose their turn because they get switched out and then their turn is cancelled. So you want to do this into something like entry hazards. People aren't clearing entry hazards, so if you risk losing the game to set up by setting up your entry hazards and then you get into this, you could actually phase through a lot of your opponent's team and pull some cool stuff. You used to see this on something like a Dragonair, because Dragonair had the Marvel scale, which means while it was asleep, it got tankier. But then you have Eviolite crazy stats on the Duraludon. And it's also nice to just Thunder Wave most of your opponent's team, depending on the immunities, and then you can swing some Dragon Tail. It's kind of risky and flippy, but man, this Pokemon doesn't really go anywhere. And if you're running the Eviolite Duraludon and maybe even Bulk Archaludon, I really like the Terra Flying because it synergizes really well. We're weak to fighting and ground. You go into flying and that's taken care of, and then the flying weaknesses, except for ice, yeah, you already have those as resistances, so people aren't going to try to go for that prediction. Fighting ground also synergizes with these Pokemon because generally going to be physical attacks. Aura Sphere hasn't been a thing. Focus Miss is just going to be like the 120 power coin flip anyways, and it really comes down to Earth Power on the ground type moves, so it's just a really good typing, Steel Dragon. But the problem is with power creep that if you're running just 65-90, a neutral stab, very powerful like special hit, especially Terra boosted, just can one-shot you, which feels really bad if you're a pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Now, I wanted to compare durability for Duraludon and Archaludon, so I just put in like a powerful non-stab hit. And, alright, we take like 45, 53, so like 50% on a special attack, 20% on a physical attack. But then, wait a second, we have Eviolite on the Duraludon, why are we not negating a crazy amount of damage? Like, we just take 10% less damage compared to Archaludon? But I guess 20 hit points, 15 special defense, when all the numbers get involved, it actually turns out to be like 30% more durability. And then even with the boosting and stuff, the difference really isn't that crazy. So Archaludon, you know, it doesn't really like having such a low special defense, but it doesn't feel it as much as you would imagine. And then 9130 is fat. And then you max out hit points and Archaludon is alright. Because when it comes to the Silvally damage analog, it's like a 95-95, but we're not putting in hit point investment. So we're not finding all those extra stats. Now, it isn't a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot at level 50 where it's like, yeah, we're only getting 32 more hit points. I mean, maybe because our special is so low and we get so much benefit out of it. You do something like that, you're going to be fine for hopefully most special attacks. And then for the moveset itself, I was thinking, what if we just channel Duraludon from last generation where it's like Dynamax into the most powerful moves, except this is Power Herb and same kind of energy. Well, that's also where we have a problem because maxing out speed on 85 seems troll. But again, like the speed tiers are 90-ish and then 120-something-ish, and there's nothing in between. So if you have a 90 speed Pokemon that's wall breaking and then you max out your 85 speed Pokemon, well, you're just outspeeding them. And if you're outspeeding them on +1 stab or getting a super effective hit, you win. So that's kind of what we need to play for, maybe. This seems like a really meme wall-breaking Pokemon, but also a good one. Like, if you just come in, outspeed an opponent, hit them with a Draco Meteor, they're not going to like that, and then you can just switch out and maybe, like, even keep your Power Herb for later on in the battle or something. And I think Steel Beam is a good move because it gives you autonomy that if the opponent is, like, trying to just set up on you, and you're just aimlessly bashing into them and you're kind of locked in some kind of loop where you hit them and they heal it and then they get some more stats and now they're kind of snowballing the game on bulky setup. Well, you can do a crazy amount of damage to them and then peace out and not have to worry about like switching into a Calm Mind boosted hit. And then that gives you like a weakened opponent that maybe you can now clean up that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to. And I guess maybe the rare times you get blocked by some kind of Pokemon or something. So at least like you have an ability to take yourself out, but also you do good damage on the way out. And then Electro Shot, like how could 130 power be bad if you're getting +1 on a 125 special attack? Well, it turns out that's actually not as crazy as you want to see. It's really just choice meta, isn't it? Like you need choice band or choice specs to really get into that damage theory, but you get the +1 and then you do the damage. It's non-stab, but it's 130 power and it's just a hit. There could be the world where there's a bug type or an ice type Pokemon, you hit them with the Meteor Beam, and now you're set up and looking good because it was that. And it's the same thing as Electro Shot, minus the small power difference, but a KO is a KO. And then that's when, like, again, you can throw out the Draco Meteors, you have the Steel Beam options, and while it's going to take you out, it's going to wall break, and then 1-for-1 plus, or maybe 2-for-1 in some kind of weird way. Because, like, if you outspeed one shot, good. And then that means you can just kind of like get the Electro Shot, take a hit, trade, and then Steel Beam, and then 1-for-1 at the end of the day, and that's damage. So I think like this meme just gives you like so much power variety and so much power coverage. You can deal with almost any threat. And comfort and reliability gets better in Pokemon as there's more and more power creep, and you can just lose to something wacky. Now, something that makes Archaludon busted is the stamina ability, and you probably felt this during the story where you were like, wait a second, that's kinda not fair. He's gaining special attack, he's threatening big moves, and now I can't hurt him physically. Come on, that's not cool. And then you can like kind of just naturally go to the Assault Vest. Wait a second, we have low special defense, we gain natural defense. Yeah, Assault Vest means maybe we don't get, well actually not even maybe, we just don't get KO'd, and that opens up a lot of options. And if a physical attacker's hitting us, they're just going to, like, futilely do less and less damage. So at least we're a 3-hit KO. And then that means we have a lot of other options to severely hurt the opponent. And then there's Mirror Coat. Hitting an opponent with Mirror Coat on this and one-shotting them, even with the Assault Vest, you might be thinking, well, you're taking less damage from the Assault Vest. You're returning double damage, and the only reason the Assault Vest exists so you don't get one shot. So you're still taking 60, 70%, and you have high amounts of hit points from the hit point investment. So yeah, everything's going to go down. Like any special hit that's neutral, even with the Assault Vest, you Mirror Coat them and they get KO'd. Like, yeah, I still believe this moveset is, like, fun and can be pretty good. And when you see, like, this signature move, you want Power Herb. But the Pokemon has so many other tools. But what if you just set up the Electro Shot into a physical attacker, or maybe a Pokemon that's trying to set up, that they go for an Iron Defense, you go for an Electro Shot, well then you send your Electro Shot into them, now you have +1 Flash Cannon, and you're just hurting them, and they don't hurt you back as much. So, like, you just hard set that up, and then you're around and tanky, and it's really good. And then you have the Draco Meteor, see ya, but it's also a potential KO. And the Mirror Coat increases this Pokemon's ability to 1-for-1 so much, and it's still like a really beneficial thing to go 1-for-1, but not plus, because their Pokemon's on the field KOing you with the outspeed. Well, now you have the counter opportunity against them for the revenge. That also got me thinking about Quick Claw, because Quick Claw is effectively a 20% chance to get Power Herb, and it can have some really interesting effects. So let's say you're going up against a physical Pokemon, you Electro Shot them, maybe, hopefully, you get the KO. Well, Stamina means you're going to survive for all of that. And if they bring in a special attacker, well, the special attacker, if you have Power Herb, outspeeds and KOs you. With Quick Claw, there's a 20% chance you outspeed, you get the Draco Meteor. Now you're only at -1, so your Steel Beam still hurts. And, like, that actually turns it into a 2-for-1 Pokemon with pretty decent odds, because you charge the Electro Shot, next turn Quick Claw, and then it hits, and that could be a KO or something. And maybe we open up the Terra Electric, because we go back to this damage. Yeah, you go Terra Electric, and now that's a KO. I don't think it's something you want to commonly do, but if it's one of those things where it's like, I have the KO here, I need to take advantage of this KO, I gotta use my Terra. You know, it doesn't feel good, and it might actually backfire in some kind of way because your other Pokemon could have used it better. But here, at least you have that opportunity on the Power Herb, maybe on the Assault Vest, kind of like no matter what's going on here, to just kind of open that up. And same weaknesses, you kind of actually sacrifice a weakness because Electric is a really good typing. So weird things happen with the Terra Electric, but it's good to, I think it's better to have it and not use it than need it and not have it kind of idea. But I definitely think this is a play, and I'm pretty sure Power Herb is a bait. It also, again, opens up the Assault Vest, it opens up some other play, and if you give Archaludon Sustain, you can also get really weird with it. So, Sleep Talk will not call a charge move. So that means, like, you could just Electro Shot, again, Stamina, and then Moringa Berry is going to be like the Assault Vest. So you can, like, take hits, survive. So you Electro Shot, hit them with just the raw Electro Shot, rest Sleep Talk, and now it's just going to be +1 Flash Cannons. And then I was thinking, since we're not just all-inning on our special attack, this gives us the opportunity to go max hit points, max special defense, be a 3-hit KO Pokemon against special attackers, and eventually, Stamina just becomes too much. That we're resting, we're taking physical hits, we're Sleep Talking, they're doing less and less physical damage. If we KO their special Pokemon at some point, like, maybe we just use our other 2 Pokemon in 3v3, where it's like, okay, their one special threat is gone, everything else is physical, well, now we win the game. And that just feels really cool. And then we can just hard set up an Electro Shot again, and then we have a +2 Flash Cannon. So 125 uninvested +2, that's damage, and it's going to keep on coming, and you just can't get us KO'd. And I know you can run Body Press here, especially because of Stamina, but it doesn't feel reliable enough to me, because what if they don't feed your Stamina? What if they have Ghost-type Pokemon? I love running Body Press, but every time I bring it out, something goes wrong. They got Terra Ghost. It's a Golden Go that completely stuffs me. Now, Golden Go is kind of weird because it resists the Flash Cannon, so you're just hoping you do enough to it with Electro Shot before it, like, stacks Nasty Plot and KOs you. At least no one's running Golurk, so you don't get completely stuffed out, but it doesn't feel reliable. And man, Rest Sleep Talk has just kind of become a meme like a lot of other things. Oh, this Pokemon 1-for-1 pluses. Oh, if you want to solve any bad Pokemon, just baton pass stats into it. Rest Sleep Talk, if it's a bulky Pokemon that doesn't have Sustain, use it. I don't know if it's a crutch. I don't know if it's actually bad. Or maybe that's just power creep right now, where it's like, oh, Game Freak thought they balanced all the tanks by not giving them Sustain, but then you rest, and if you're just a 3-hit KO Pokemon, it doesn't matter if you whiff a Sleep Talk. If you get one value Sleep Talk and go back to resting, you win, especially on a Stamina Pokemon. And this also has a weird benefit that Psychic Noise isn't good to use against Archaludon because Steel resists it. So actually, like, okay, they Psychic Noise after your first Rest Sleep Talk, so you already have Moringa Berry and Stamina pumped up, and you have a +1 or something maybe. Well, then you just Electro Shot them, and then you gain more special attack. they're hitting you with a resisted hit, and then the Flash Cannon is just too nasty, and by then the Psychic Noise wears off because it's only 2 turns. Thank God. And then you can Rest Sleep Talk it again. So I feel like Rest Sleep Talk overcomes the Psychic Noise pretty well in some situations. As for Terra, hey, we go back to Terra Flying. Terra Flying also good if they have Fissure, because that's kind of the only way you can deal with this Pokemon. After that, you just have to worry about, like, Horn Drill from Excadrill, I guess. And then funny things happen with the funny Pokemon. So I think it's scary. Duraludon, meme, Eviolite, if you want to, like, find some angle. I'm not against you looking for it, but the rest of this, I think, is, like, all viable, and it can make it a really big threat where it's like, okay, I have to hit it with this special attack. My damage calc says I win. Oh, wait, it turns out it's not Power Herb. It's Assault Vest. My special attacker is now KO'd, and then it can just peace out on a Draco Meteor, and I'm now really far behind, kind of thing. So predicting into Archaludon is kind of rough. It could also just Power Herb one-shot you, and then still just be like, oh, I have a physical Pokemon. I can't KO it. It's Steel Beam. Now just went 2 for 1 on its own terms. Not good. And then this is just the setup Infinity Tank that, yeah, Encore Rest, whatever, or Taunt Rest, whatever, but it actually has enough power to where it fights through that, and it's still gaining stats and durability until the Taunt threat is gone. So, pretty good. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.